Hi, today on Inspiration, we're at the Royal Yacht Club at Victoria and we're talking with the fastest woman to sail around the world non-stop, Adrienne Cahalan. Thank you so much for joining us. You've done some amazing things in your sailing career, 19 Sydney to Hobart, soon to be 20. You're the fastest woman to sail around the world non-stop. What has been your greatest career highlight?
Well, I started as a teenager sailing on Sydney Harbour, and I lived near the water, and I watched a lot of the other people kicking around in boats because I'm not from a family that actually sailed, you know. We tended to go to the beach a lot. And so I started to look at buying my own boat. I saved up my money and I bought my own boat and potted around and started racing. And at the time, there was a handful of girls sailing, but not a huge amount. And so I started to sail on Sydney Harbour and then in the 18-foot skiffs, which was in fact a professional circuit. And then I was sponsored by Ella Bachet. And at the same time, I sailed my first Sydney Hobart when I was 20. And so that began my love affair with the ocean and with sailing. And the first Hobart I sailed in 1984, there was only about 3 or 4 girls in the race. And now, in 2011, there'll be almost half. So it's come a long way, and I'm very proud of that fact that because the great thing about sailing is it is a sport for life. You can sail until they take you away in a box. And it's so social because men and women sail together and really enjoy the sport together.
That's fantastic. It seems like women have got a great headway into the sport of racing in such a short time. Is it usually a man's game?
It traditionally has been, in the same way that a woman was traditionally the homemaker. You know, now women are more financially secure. They've got the ability to buy their own boat, put their own teams together, or just more confident in going down to the dock and saying, "Hey, do you need a crew?" You know, and you know, back in the old days, superstition was that women were bad luck on boats, you see, along with priests and flowers and things like that. But now, you know, a woman has a wonderful role to play on a boat. Not only does it take some of the testosterone madness out of it all, you know, because it just balances it a little bit more, but also, you know, I think, you know, physically, the fact is biologically men are much bigger and stronger. So they tended to sort of hoggle the roles. But now technology has changed such that there's not as much grunt involved, you know, there's more buttons and more sort of technical ways of achieving the same result, which you used to have a man just pulling hard on something. So that means that there's more opportunities for women. And like myself, you know, I'm only little, but I fulfil the role of all the computers and navigation and electronics, which is a great spot for a woman.
Actually, I was going to ask you, what are the special skills you need to be a good sailor, and do you need to be strong?
Well, there are roles on the boat where you do need to be strong, there's no doubt about that. But my role as a navigator is there's more finesse involved. And so on one hand, where you need a guy who might be big and strong and unafraid, you know, my job is a bit more sort of analytical. You have to be calmer, you know, it's more a lot of endurance because you don't sleep much. And, you know, sometimes women are good at those qualities. They're a bit more patient, you know, and that's important. And that's the wonderful thing about a sailing team because you bring together so many different personalities and so many different skills. And to make that all work with a common goal is something that when you get it right is very, very satisfying.
And what sort of training do you need to be a good yachtswoman?
Where I started in dinghies, you know, you have to be fit. You got to do time in the gym. I've never been great at the gym, but you know, that's what it's about. It's being fit for the purpose and also match fit. You know, it's important to do as many races as you can because there's a physical side and there's also the strategic side. You know, it's like a game of chess. You got to work out where the wind's coming from and work out how you're going to beat that other person, and also preparation in terms of equipment, because one little screw comes undone and that's the end of your race, you know, so you have to check everything twice.
And how do you keep calm and I don't know, not lose it all when you are in a boat for 59 days, for example, and how do you keep that stamina going?
When I did the round the world record in 2004 with Steve Fawcett, that was probably for me one of the biggest highlights of my career. It's something I'd always wanted to achieve. When I was back 19, like Jessica Watson, I wanted to go around the world solo and break that record, and that was before Kay Coddy actually. But my parents and friends said, no, don't be stupid. And you know, in retrospect, they were right because apart from the fact I probably might not have come back, you know, it's a big step into that world. And so when you go by yourself, it's very different qualities, you know, to when you're sailing with a team for 59 days. And you have to sort of give people space. You have to understand that everyone has their good days and their bad days. You know, if someone's pretty upset or something like that, just leave them alone and they'll come back. And I think it's about patience. But when you did that, I always thought in my mind, if we lose this record by 1 second, I'll never forgive myself. So that just kept driving you. You know, the clock ticking over there, every time you saw it ticking, you'd go, no, we don't want the clock to go faster. And that actually makes the time go really fast.
Because you're thinking about we have to achieve the goal rather than thinking about what you're doing at the moment and how hard it is. What do you think the qualities are that make you successful?
I think it's important that preparation is so important, and to be in it for the long haul. You know, in these days there's a lot about overnight success, trying to achieve goals very quickly, but that's not the way it should be. There's a great sense of satisfaction of spreading a career over a long period of time and taking little steps along the way. And it all comes back to the preparation and your own enthusiasm and drive to succeed.
And do you think it's harder as a woman to get sponsorship and make a living as a yachtswoman or as a sports person?
Just generally at the moment, it probably is, because one thing that when I have the opportunity to speak to journalists about is putting more airtime for women as positive role models in sport. If you open up the papers on the weekend, you'll see football, men's tennis, you know, name them off. And on one hand, they're going, women should be doing this and getting more into sport, but role models are so important in a sport. So they should give more airtime to the tennis players, the surfers who are doing so well, and all these people, so that young women can identify with them. And I think the media's got a huge role to play in opening up that world to women.
And what advice would you give to a woman who wants to start to become a sailor?
Get out on the water, because it's about sailing and getting out there and just walk down to the docks. There's so many opportunities just by asking, and I've always worked on the principle, the phone never rings. It's up to you. Never wait to be asked. Pick up the phone, get out there. Just tell people, hey, if you've got a spot, I want to get involved, you know. And they have it. The clubs have a wonderful crew nights now where you come down and you meet people and get everybody organised. So it's just putting your hand up and saying, I want to be a part of it, and being a good team member, having initiative, saying, hey, what can I do on the boat? What can I help? Can I bring the lunch? And also not be too precious, because, you know, little tasks that you might start off, you might think you're above, but you know, everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody's got to make the sandwiches, clean their head, not a good, nice job. So, you know, just be prepared to do whatever you're asked to do, and then you'll gradually gain the confidence to work out where you want to go in the sport.
Great advice. And so what's your next challenge?
Well, at the moment, I'm working with an America's Cup team in Sydney, and that's always been my dream. Back in 1983, when they crossed that line, I was 19 years old, and I'll never forget the day, as I'm sure many Australians won't. And the opportunities come now in Australia that we're looking to put together an America's Cup team, Team Australia Challenge. I'll be probably part of the management team or in a legal counsel role, but to bring the America's Cup back to Australia, that's a great challenge for us, and that's my challenge right at the moment.
Oh, good luck with that, and thank you so much for talking with us.
My pleasure.
And until next time, be inspired.